Okay, so to everyone who's just joined us, welcome. This is Calgarys Child Magazine and Professional Parenting. We're working together to bring you these webinars once a month. And tonight we have the topic of Beyond the Birds and Bees, what, when, and how to talk to your children about that all-important subject called sexuality. And this is a topic that comes up generally a little later than what we think, and it should actually come up a little before what we think. So I'm going to just tell you who I am. My name is Judy, and I teach parenting around Calgary and across Canada. I'm a certified Canadian family life educator. I teach a parenting course at the University of Calgary called Parent Effectiveness Training. I've taught for Alberta Health Services for 13 years, and I'm a bit of an idealist in that I go to conferences, I read research, but I also have 5 lovely children of my own, and their pictures back here. So I have 4 boys and a daughter in the middle who's a princess, and they range in age now from 13 to 24. So they're getting along in years, and yes, we haven't really had the talk, as a lot of us remember from our childhood, but now we have quite a few, lots and lots and lots of little talks. So I'm also an author. I've written a book, 2 books actually. One is on how to get calm and stay calm in parenting, how to get our kids calm, get everybody calm. And the other one is how to solve the problem once everyone's calm. So these 2 books kind of go together, and they're out there on Amazon if you want to order them. So just a few housekeeping things. This is a webinar rather than a meeting, so everybody is muted. If you have a question, feel free to put your hand up in the chat box anytime and we can do that. And this webinar is for education purposes. It's not to replace medical advice. If you can't hear, maybe try a headset. Sometimes that makes less echoing. Where do I get my information from? Actually, a lot of this is from Calgary Sexual Health, and it's also from a book called Speaking of Sex by Meg Hinckley, which she's a Vancouver nurse who's written excellent books on how to talk to your kids pretty frankly about all the questions they ask. So I highly recommend her books out there. They've been out for about 10 years, so they're popping all around used bookstores if you want to grab one of those. Okay, so let's look at what is coming up. So we're going to look at this in terms of ages and stages. What do children need to know when? So I'm not sure why this is in here. Oh, that's weird too. Okay. Let me just make sure I got the right PowerPoint here. Okay, yeah, I do. All right, let's start with babies. Babies are very interesting. They are actually born sexual beings. You go to your baby's ultrasound and you can see sometimes those little boys have erections in the womb. So they, and definitely babies enjoy randomly touching themselves, and definitely toddlers too. So children are born sexual, and they don't quite know anything about the social factors around what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So little babies are just, their brain works in ways of sensory input and output. So they touch themselves, it feels good. That's all they can process, and they don't even intentionally do it. So their job as babies is to develop trust and attachment with their adult caregiver. As you move into the toddler years, their brain is all about exploring. So they're learning new things, they're learning about their bodies, and they're learning language. So in terms of that, when they touch their chin or their elbow or their eye, we give them the words for the parts they're touching. We say, yes, that's your eye. That's your knee. That's your elbow. That's your nose. Where's your ears? And this is the best time of all, is to give them their body science vocabulary too. And let's talk about this in terms of body science, because bodies are scientific. So give them the right words right from the start. So this is also a time when a lot of parents are expecting their second baby. So you could say, yes, you have a baby brother growing inside mommy's uterus. Don't say stomach, because stomach is where the food is. Let's get correct right from the beginning. Uterus. Yes, that is your penis, or this is your vulva. And if you're not too sure what's the scientific names for things, look them up. So it's a lot easier to start this way because it pops out of our mouths easier. They are not giggly yet. They're just soaking in information and exploring all their surroundings, including their own bodies too. So give them the proper words. Another reason you want to do that is because it helps give them protection against sexual predators. So a child who knows the right language for the right parts, nobody's going to pick on them or touch them inappropriately, because that's a sign that things are talked about openly in the family. And that's what you want to give up to people. Okay, so babies and young toddlers, they're in the stage of building security with their attachment person, lots of exploration, and this is where separation anxiety begins. Pretty normal. The next stage is older toddlers. This is where they're heightened emotions. And just as we give them words for their feelings, we give them words for body parts too. So this is a time where you'll see a lot of self-masturbatory behaviors or curiosity about other children the same age. This is when they don't know any of the rules surrounding our social norms, and this is a good time to start teaching them. We don't want to punish them for touching themselves. We don't want to shame them. We just want to teach them body science. So this is the stage of older toddlers. This is normal behaviors that you'll get that. They're very honest. So, for example, if they see stool in the toilet, they'll ask, where does it go? Where does it come from? Or you go to a public washroom and they say, why was this left here? Which is kind of embarrassing to us when we're thinking other people are listening in the stalls. But they're very, very honest at this stage. And that's really nice, because this is the only time in their life they will be. They're very independent. So we're teaching them toilet training at this stage. So that's a good opportunity to start teaching them their body parts, and where explain a little bit about digestion, like the food goes in the mouth, the body takes all the good stuff out of the food leaves through the anus and comes out as stool, and it's waste product. The body doesn't need it anymore. Let's wave goodbye to it in the toilet. This is also a time, because they don't want to separate. This is a time that they are oftentimes in the bathroom with you, and they see a lot of what's going on with you, and they notice things, or they run into your bathroom while you're having a shower, or and they notice your body parts and differences between you and your partner. So they notice what girls have in terms of body parts, and they notice what boys have, and men and women, and they have lots of questions if they can talk. Now, if they can't talk yet, you'll get more of the questions in the preschooler age. And that's the best time to answer them. Matter-of-factly, simple language. So this is also a stage where you want to start installing respect for body dignity and privacy. So if your toddler doesn't want you to kiss and tickle them and blow raspberries in their tummy, if they say no, respect that. Show them that you respect their bodies and that they can instill that in other people too. This is not a time you don't want to spank, because that's not showing respect for bodies. You don't want to slap, you don't want to pinch, you don't want to do any physical punishment, because you want to teach your children that their bodies are theirs and no means no. Protect them. So this is also a time when the second baby comes along, and what a great idea or time for explaining things like, where do babies come from? How do they get out? A lot of toddlers don't understand that, but a lot will start asking questions. So what are their beliefs? 0 to 3. So this is young toddlerhood. Their whole cognitive ability is here and now. They don't understand, if you're expecting a new baby, they don't understand when the new baby's coming, how it started growing. They have no concept of time. And they're very literal. So if you talk about the babies grow from eggs, they're thinking of the only eggs they've seen, which is the chicken eggs you have in your fridge. Now, they don't understand that babies pop out of your uterus. Where do we get everything else for our house? We go to the store and buy it, right? So they may think that we go to the hospital and purchase a baby. Or they may think that new babies replace old babies, because a lot of things that we're done with, the old toaster doesn't work, so we get a new toaster. Out the back door to the recycling goes the old toaster. They don't know that they're not getting replaced and with the new baby. And that's something we have to address, is we have to tell them, we love you, we love the new baby that's coming, you're not going anywhere, you're going to be here all our lives, and we love you. They also know that all adults are mummies or daddies. They don't have a concept of adults not having children, which is kind of interesting. So they're learning language. What's appropriate information for this age? Definitely, like I talked about, give them the right terminology. If you have trouble using words like penis and vulva, then practice in the shower when nobody's hearing. Practice. A lot of times children are very honest, and they pick up on our reluctance to say anything. And that can stop them from asking questions later. Gender differences, this is the age they can pick out girls from boys, just naturally. And it might be a time to look at their growth, their baby photos, and talk about those things. This is a good time to start saying what's public and what's private behavior. For example, things like nose picking or ear wax pecking or masturbation. Those are kinds of things that you start by saying, okay, those are things we do in private, and start getting them ready for the concept of public versus private behaviors. You want to teach them not to pick up things from the ground like old condoms, and you want to start instilling the rules that whoever says no rules. You want to teach them that their bathing suit area is theirs alone, and nobody should touch that unless it's a doctor with you present. Okay, so the next stage is the preschooler stage. So this is 3 to 6 years. This is a stage they're starting to think and question. For example, I remember my oldest son was 5 and my next son was 4 when I had a baby, and I remember one day they would draw all these sperm and egg pictures, which was kind of neat, but I don't think they really knew what sperm and egg were. But we would say, well, that's how the baby gets together. And then one day my son actually came to me at 5 and he said, just how exactly does the sperm get to the egg? And that was a great time to say, well, this is how it works. And I think it was a minute, and I used very, very simple language. And there's some really, really wonderful books in the library that help you with this. So, and then when I explained it, my other son, who was 4, he said, "Oh, that's how it works." And he didn't quite understand, but he wasn't going to ask any questions. So a lot of times, this is the stage where you have to start talking very honestly and throwing out little tidbits. And what that does is it sets the stage for children to feel safe to ask questions. So, for example, if I say, Mommy has her period and needs to go buy some protection. And making a statement like that, then a child would say, "Oh, what's a period?" And then you would say, "Okay, well, period is this, blah, 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 blah." And you can look it up on Google if you don't know the words. But that tells your child that there is no question off the table. Now, here's the thing. Your children are all going to learn about sex. It's all out there in their media, in their environment, through the internet, through TV shows, through what their little friends say at preschool, through movies. They're going to learn about it. What you are going to give them is the correct information and a lot of your values from the very beginning. You have the ability to attach your values and what you think along with the information. So don't blow that opportunity. Seize it. Throw it out there for questions. Allow them to ask them. So at this stage, they're learning about socially acceptable behavior and the difference between reality and fantasy. So these are typical behaviors for preschoolers. Very short attention span. If they ask you, "Daddy, where babies come from?" don't sit down for an hour-long PowerPoint presentation. Tell them in 3 sentences. You can never, ever give them too much information, but keep it simple. Keep the language simple. If they want to ask more, they'll ask more. But if it's over their head, that's okay. It's better to give them too much. They'll only soak in what they can absorb and handle cognitively at that time. So they may ask a lot of questions. They may have an immense imagination. I remember when I was that age and I just could not believe that women had babies. I just could not see how that could happen. But later you find out, right? So what do they believe at this age? Well, their belief is very pre-operational. What that means is it's pre-logical. They don't understand logic. So for example, again, my older son at this age at 5, we kept saying to him, "You were the sperm that won the race. You beat out millions of other sperms. You're a winner." And that was to build his self-esteem. And he thought, "Oh, that's good. That was great." And from a few years after that, his poor brother thought that he came in second in the race because he was next oldest. And he mentioned it one day and we looked at him without realizing that's the way his brain was working. That was his little sense of pre-logic. And then we said, no, you had your own race. You won your own race. You didn't come in second. So you have to be really aware of what kids are thinking, things that you would never imagine. So you might want to start, they might have questions on how babies get in and out of body openings. They realize that men don't have babies at this age. And they think that men and women, again, are required to have babies. And generally around age 5 is when children start feeling whether they're a girl or a boy. They're starting to feel what their gender is. So what's information you give at this age? Okay, so this is a good age. If they ask, definitely tell them about how the sperm and the egg unite and tell them about the sperm and egg. And there's a lot of books out there that show you pictures and can help you use the words. You can say babies come out of women's vaginas and they're born that way, or you could talk about C-sections too. You want to tell them there's a difference between their digestive system and the reproduction parts. So again, you don't want to say a baby's growing in the stomach, because then they start thinking, oh, that ice cream mommy had is going to freeze the baby. They don't understand that. Basic menstruation and body changes. So they may ask questions like, well, why does daddy have hair under his arm? Or why does mommy have blood coming out in the toilet? Those are things that very simple questions that you can very simply answer. Again, use the right terminology and reinforce that they have private parts and they're covered by bathing suits. A really, really good, this is one of the best pamphlets I've ever seen on what's normal versus abnormal behavior of children from 0 to 5. And they talk about it in terms of a stoplight. So this is parentsprotect.co.uk. If you can take a screenshot of this, great. And it'll help you. If you want to go to that website, you will get this PDF. You can download it. But the green light is these are all normal behaviors. So curiosity about other children's private parts, touching, role-playing games, especially in the preschool years, interest in body parts, masturbation, exploring differences, asking, has erections. Oh, they love to be naked at this age. They run around and it's just the best feeling in the world. Very normal. Interested in watching people do bathroom functions, interested in bathing, having a baby. And a lot of times they put things in their openings. This is exploratory, very normal. And then there's some cautions. These are things that are somewhat normal but can be a concern. And then there's definitely red light things that maybe signal an issue or concern about sexual abuse or just not in the range of normal. So it's a very good site. Okay, moving on. I'm not too sure what ages your children are, but let's go through to the teen years. Next stage is the school age years. So this is where they're starting to think logically, but very concretely. They don't understand things like theories and the gray areas of sexuality. It's all black and white at this age, right? So they're needing to experiment, make mistakes, build skills, learning to argue and question, and negotiate rules. That's normal for this age. So we kind of divide this age into early school agers, so 6 to 9 years, and late school agers from 10 to 13. Both of these have implications for sexuality. 6 to 9, they have a lot of questions, they experiment, they're very rule focused. And that's kind of good. If the rule around your house is no touching your body parts in public, then they'll monitor the siblings for that too. So that's good. In the late school age time, they're becoming more peer focused. So this is the time as they're heading into middle school, junior high. The girls are much taller than the boys, much more developed, huge difference. So very getting into self-consciousness, a lot of worries, those kinds of things, conscious of how they dress. They may want to mimic their pop stars, those kinds of things. So 6 to 9, let's look at that. They're in the age of potty humor. Yay, Captain Underpants rules. So again, they're very concrete. So they understand things tangible and concrete in their environment. They're very logical. They still may misinterpret metaphors. They don't know what a seed looks like or an egg until they actually see pictures in books. They spend a lot of time thinking of the mechanics of sexual intercourse, and they may have a gender preference for a new sibling, or definitely starting to realize whether they're male or female. They think that marriage is necessary to have a baby, still at this age. So appropriate information here is definitely start explaining sexual intercourse, how the sperm and egg get together, how babies come out, and definitely start explaining menstruation and body changes in puberty. Due to a number of factors, a lot of girls are now menstruating earlier than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. So it's not uncommon for 8 to 9-year-olds starting to have their periods. And you want to prepare them for that. You don't want them to be surprised. So definitely have those talks. And it's not just one talk, it's a lot of little talks. And again, use proper terminology. Now, the 10 to 13-year-olds, that's the gross me out stage. If there's ever a time they shut down and don't ask questions, this is it. But that doesn't mean they don't need information. So it's up to you to throw out statements out there. For example, I was changing a bed and one of my sons walked in and he said, "What are you doing?" Basically, "What are you doing in my room?" And I said, "Well, pretty soon you're going to have nocturnal emissions, so I'm putting a plastic cover over your mattress." And he walked out. But what that said to him was, he can ask me anything, like what those are. Actually, he probably went to Google and Googled it. But I want our kids to come and ask questions and talk, especially when they head into the relationship stuff and they don't know how. You are their best lifeline. You want to have a good relationship that they can ask questions and tell you things or talk to you about problems or worries or fears or things like that. Okay, so moving on. Information for this age, again, you want more advanced information on body changes in puberty. So especially, boys and girl changes. This is a time when they're not quite used to using deodorant, or they start having a need for a shower every day. And don't make fun of them, because remember, they're very sensitive. But it doesn't hurt to say, "Okay, here, I bought you some deodorant today. This is kind of a roll-on style, but there's some spray style out there if you want that. But I think it might be a good idea to use it every day. This is a time you might want to go bra shopping for your daughter." And a lot of parents have celebrations. When boys start getting their underarm hair, that's a time where you want to take them out for lunch and just celebrate, or maybe they don't want that. Again, whoever says no rules. Go with what they say. Same with girls. It's kind of a entrance into womanhood, but again, you know your child best. You want to talk about sexuality and peer pressure, have those conversations. It's important to note that abstinence is actually the norm. I think the statistic for 15-year-olds having sex by the time they're 15 is still under 50%. So not everyone's doing it. It is the norm that most people are not doing it at that age. For girls, you want to talk about the media and have those conversations about body distortion and airbrushing and what's a normal and healthy body. So put your focus on strong and healthy body instead of thin or beauty. So focus on strong and healthy. Give your daughter those messages. So again, at the same website, they do have the same stoplight, but for children age 5 to 11. So that's kind of what's appropriate behavior for that. So an increased sense of privacy. This is the age where they may want their own room, more around 11. 11, 12, they're starting to head into that, get away from the siblings, want their own room. Definitely, that's when they start yelling at me to shut the bathroom door, because I was so used to leaving it open when they were younger. So it's like, "Mom, can't you shut the door?" So I have to. Definitely, they're probably into some body touching, masturbation, a lot of times. Now, they're quite aware of private versus public. So They do it in public or private by then. That's why they take those long showers. A little bit of curiosity again about other kids, so it may involve looking at or touching, and that's pretty normal till about age 12. After age 12, they should know better, right? Curiosity about sexuality and babies and gender relationships and yeah, dating relationships. And often they're towards the young age, they're very giggly about things like poop and toilets and bums and things like that. So they often go online. You get a pair of 6 or 7-year-olds going online and Googling bums. Well, they can come up with some pretty graphic photographs. So you want to be careful with where they go on the internet at that age. And by 13, okay, now they're starting to think abstractly and they're in that feeling stage. So again, they're starting to learn who they are as their identity, what their sexual identity is. They're experimenting with sexuality. This is sometimes the age where they're not too sure if they're homosexual, heterosexual, bisexual. They're experimenting, developing their own philosophy, values, and beliefs. So this is a time they may want to go for a walk and talk, have some questions. Definitely don't want to talk about it in front of anyone else. Usually, boys tend to talk to mums and girls tend to talk to bums. Now, for dads, this is an age where you don't want to stop hugging your daughters. You want to keep up hugging them, giving them that reassurance they're lovable. A lot of daughters feel isolated at this stage because dads start feeling uncomfortable touching them. So if you're still comfortable, again, hug your kids, give them kisses, give them, hair tussles. I still give my big boys, my 22, 23-year-old boys, hugs. And until they say no, because remember, no rules, I'm going to keep doing it. And they're not saying no yet. So definitely everybody needs hugs. They need non-sexual touch. So teenagers divided into two groups. Early is 13 to 15 and late is 16 to 18. So here, the early ones, they're good sleepers, they're moody, they're feeling changes, interested in sexuality. They may not experiment, but they're definitely looking up things on the internet, in books, asking friends, and hopefully talking to you about it. Hormones are waking up, and they're interested in adult conversations. And that's their kind of way of learning how people talk on dates, is by watching you interact with your friends, strike up conversations, those kinds of things. The late teens, they're searching for their identity, solidifying their values on different things like premarital sex, on abortion, on drinking, on drugs. They're definitely becoming their own person. It's said that by the age of 25, most kids get about 75% of their parents' values. So if you offer your values but don't force them, they take on more, usually. So, children's beliefs, what they need to know but don't want to hear. Okay, a lot of these are not. Oh, maybe this is. Okay, here we go. Appropriate information for 13 to 19. Advanced body science info. Now, the only course they're going to get, if they take biology 20 and 30, they start getting bits about the reproductive system. They start learning about birth control in Alberta. Hopefully in health class, which starts in grade 4 in Alberta, they start getting more information too. But a lot of children don't go to health class, but they can get it in biology. So changes during puberty, if you haven't talked about it yet, or they have questions or concerns, this is an age they might want to start going to the doctor alone without you. So again, ask them, do you want me to come in the room or do you want me to sit outside? And don't be offended if they want you to sit outside. Birth control, talk about that depending on your values. Sexually transmitted infections, talk about those, what they are. And the why, your values, your morals around sexuality and relationships. This is a time they really need relationship skills. They need to know how to say no. They need to know how to handle breakups and rejection. They need to coaching on all those things, how to role play when they're feeling pushed into something and they don't want to engage. And that's where that saying no comes through. If you respect their no's, they start to expect that respect out there among their peers. And again, refusal skills. And after age 19, usually, if they have questions, it's usually between their doctor and them. You probably won't have many conversations anymore. These are the links for those 2 brochures I talked about on what's normal, what's not. So be sure to go there. And basically what they say, how do you respond to observed behavior? So anything that's green light, just describe what the behavior is. If you have concerns, like say they're masturbating in public, okay, describe it. Explain that there's a private place for that and show them where it is, right? Distract them by removing him from the situation. Doesn't require embarrassment, shaming, punishment, just teaching. Teach. For amber light ones, you want to, again, describe the behavior, talk about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And same for red light things. In the red light things, you might want to follow the directions and get outside help if that's a concern for you. So everything's a stage, and children develop in terms of their brains. Their brain is the biggest sexual organ in their body, and it's also a great time to have lots and lots of conversations, not just one talk and done. Another thing you can do is leave books lying around. I bought a lot of books, especially the Speaking of Sex book. I bought a couple copies, toss them in my child's room, leave them in the bathroom. You know, if they have been thumbed through, I know. So, you know, it just puts it out there that that's something that's okay to be talked about in the family. And again, the golden rule is whoever says no rules. So, this is about the end. So what I'm going to do now is open this out for questions. So if you want to put up your hand to ask a question, I can unmute you, and then we can just sort of talk back and forth. And if you have a private question or concern, feel free to email me. This is my email, and I'll get back to you definitely within a week. And if you're leaving us now, feel free to join us next month on June 18th. We do these webinars the third Thursday of the month, and I'm sorry I had to move it for this month, but thank you for joining us. I had to work on this Thursday, so generally it is mostly Thursdays at 8 o'clock with different topics. So in June, we're going to talk about picky eating for all ages. So hope to see you then, and have a good rest of the night.